Good morning. John Gilkison, Aero Stealth here. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024. And I wanted to shoot a video this morning. I'm going to title Tale of Two Blogs, because over the last couple of weeks I've written two blogs which I generally publish on our Facebook group page, Southern New Mexico Electric Vehicles. So anyway, I just wanted to do a synopsis of these two blogs so I could get them to a wider audience. The first blog, done a week or so ago, was titled "The Two Types of Climate Change Denialist." Now, this blog was the outcome of me watching a TED Talk, which the presenter was talking about the psychological types of climate change denialist. And of course, there's the extreme type of denialist, which denies that climate change exists or is a thing. And in some ways, this kind of climate change denialist is a lot more honest. I've been saying this for a long time. They kind of remind me of evangelists when it comes to religion. You know, people who believe that every word in the Bible's true. Well, at least they have a position, and then everything else tends to be a logical construct of that position, that foundational premise. And the same thing's true of extreme climate change denialists. They do not want to change their lifestyles. They know that if we are going to address climate change, that fossil fuels got to go, and that everything about our lifestyles are going to have to change. And they, for this reason, that's one of the reasons they deny climate change exists. That way they don't have to think about it, and they eliminate the conflict, the internal conflict that comes from this. So I respect them for that reason, is at least they're internally consistent. But more generally speaking, and I've been saying this for a long time too, that we're all climate change denialists, because there's a great deal of the population out there. I couldn't give you a percentage figure, but a sizable percentage of the population out there thinks that climate change is real, that the science is real. However, that said, they don't act, or they do very little in their personal lives. They still drive gas vehicles. Many of them drive big SUVs or gas hogs, and they just don't take any real consequential steps to reduce their carbon emissions, or they don't even hardly ever think about it. So these people are hypocritical, and all of us are in that respect. An example of me and my wife, we still live a first world lifestyle. We have a home, we have two vehicles. One of them's a gas vehicle for towing a trailer, but the other's full electric. We have 10 kilowatts of solar. We have a heat pump water heater. We have an induction stove. We heat our house with wood pellets, and so forth. So, and I think we've reduced our carbon emissions by 70-80%, at least as far as you can, you know, at your home site. Now, our carbon emissions from what we buy, what it takes society to support us, are a separate matter, which I can't do much about. So anyway, and the other reason this blog came up is I was down at the uh, Hyundai dealership. It's also a Honda dealership because we just having our car serviced. And I was out in the parking lot, and there was new Honda, what's it called, CRVs, parked on the lot, and they're rated at 37 miles per gallon. And it's right there on the sticker. It says that they get it costs $1,400 a year to operate this car. That's its estimated cost. And I'm going, no, that's fuel efficient. For a gas car, that's 37 miles per gallon on the highway is a fuel efficient car. And still it costs $1,400 a year. Our pickup truck would cost well over $2,000 or even $3,000 a year to operate if we drove it all the time. We don't. It's a second vehicle that we know is not very efficient, so we only use it when we need to for doing truck things. So we drive it less than 100 miles a week. However, our electric car only uses 13.2% of the energy and cost that this CRV uses, $1,400 a year. And with our, time of use rate, it's $185 a year for electricity to operate our car, and versus $1,400 for this gas car that's fuel efficient. So this right away makes you wonder, what are people thinking? This must be the best kept secret out there. People just do not know. And I have a son-in-law in Oklahoma who argues that his 28 mile per gallon car is paid for. And he's got 200,000 miles on it. And this means that he's paid over $21,000 for fuel since he's bought the car. That's at $3 a gallon. It's probably more. And then, of course, recently his transmission just completely quit on him. He had to buy and have installed a brand new transmission in the car, just because the car is paid for and he doesn't want to buy a new car. He doesn't want new car payments. So, and I can understand that. He's kind of trapped there now. He was heavily invested in the stock market, I guess, and took a cleaning. So anyway, but sometimes things are penny wise and pound foolish is what I'm getting at here. So this led to my second blog, which is prying the ice keys from their cold dead hands. And it just seems that there's a resistance it's become a political issue, buying electric cars, or generally it's a political issue over efficiencies, over renewables. And if you're on the right wing or you're conservative, you can take some pretty silly stances against them. And it seems like, especially when it comes to electric cars, some people's hair is just on fire. They'll make statements like, the government's, it's a plot by the government to come and take their gasoline cars from them. Of course, no such thing has happened, but they're projecting into a future. So I went through, and some of these 10 points are things the government's already doing. But I said if we were really going to get serious about adopting electric cars, what would the government do? And so here's my list of 10 things. And this one's a little new, and I don't know whether it's possible. Eliminate by federal mandate state and local sales taxes on EVs. So just eliminate sales taxes. So if someone buys a new car, it's a gas car, they pay sales taxes. If it's an electric car, no. And this would only apply to electric cars, not PHEVs or hybrids. And then in some states, they have discriminatory registration fees for electric cars. My sister lives in Ohio, for example. It costs her $300 every year when she registers her car, but it only costs like $100 to register a gas car. Well, this is absurd. It's and they're saying, well, EVs don't pay road tax because they don't buy gasoline. Well, it turns out that if a gas car in Ohio, a regular gas car, only pays around $100 a year in gas taxes. So if you wanted to increase the registration fees on electric vehicles, that's what you do. You charge them $100 a year, not $300. So the whole point of this high registration fee is to discourage people from adopting electric cars. Well, it's not working. I had to laugh recently because out of all the, I follow electric vehicle infrastructure reports on the installation of DC fast chargers. One of the states with the highest adoption rates for DC fast chargers is Ohio. Right after that's Texas. So it's just crazy. Why the Republicans in the State House in Ohio are determined to discourage electric vehicle adoption, but when there's federal money for DC fast charging, they grab it and they get this stuff installed right away. Hypocrisy again. We do see a lot, and this one is over the top. This would really, people would get out their pitchforks and torches if they did this, but maybe not. Reduce the allowable speed limit on interstates and state highways to 65 miles an hour to reduce fuel consumption. But allow the higher speed limit, like on the interstate, you can do 75. But if you owned an EV, you could still do 75. But if you owned a gas car, you could only do 65. Oh man, I can see there'd be some people with their tits in a ringer over that. Require all electric utilities in the country to set up significantly lower time of use off-peak rates for charging electric cars. That's what we have. We pay 4.72 cents a kilowatt hour between midnight and 8 a.m. And it makes a big difference because the normal rate here is 12 cents. And of course, rates vary all over the country. But I think the federal government needs to mandate that because it will really encourage the adoption of electric cars. Increase the national, this is point 5, increase the national gas tax by 10 cents a gallon to start with to compensate for lost road taxes revenues due to banning higher fees as seen in point 2. So you can't raise extra money from EVs to make up for lost gas taxes, so just raise the gas taxes on all the remaining gas cars. This will work for a while. Then they're going to have to figure out some other scheme. And there's a lot of ways to deal with this gas tax. All you need is $100 a year from any electric vehicle to make up for lost gas taxes. So it's just not an insurmountable problem. And number 6 is my pet peeve. Require all lodging facilities to provide destination charging to reduce the number of more expensive DC fast charging installations that are needed. If you go on a trip and you charge up at 100% at home and you hit the road, you might have to stop 2 or 3 times to charge to do 400 plus miles. But one of those, the third one, let's say, it would be at your destination. Let's say I travel from here to Amarillo, which is 450 miles. Well, once I get there, I got to charge. And it's ridiculous. I'm checking into a motel. I should be able to charge at that motel overnight. And it's very difficult to find these level 2 charging at a lot of motels. Now, what I have found out is I need to really get into PlugShare and look. Because whenever you just tap on some chargers in a big city, you'll find out that they're level 2 at a motel, and it'll name the motel. But if you get online and you try to find level 2 charging at motels, a lot of them just don't say anything about it. So that's what I'm going to have to do on our next trip. Number 7 is being done by some states. Require 240 volt ready infrastructure at all residential and apartment construction by federal and state law mandate. Require a minimum of 240 volts, 32 amp outlets for use with portable or mounted EVSEs. In other words, if you have an apartment complex, at the very least, you should have a 240 volt outlet. Someone with their portable EVSE can plug into it and use it. And it needs to be metered in such a way that the apartment complex can charge you for it. But other than that, this shouldn't be a problem. And it's ridiculous to see new apartments go up, and they got parking for the cars, but they don't have any outlets, no electrical infrastructure. And all they have to do is, in the permitting process, in the building process, is the city, whatever city they're in, needs to say you have to lay conduit, and you have to have electrical wire in the conduit, and it can go to a junction box where there's no plug or anything. But that's what has to be there, and it has to be connected to a minimum to a 40 amp breaker. So it can be a 32 amp service. And 32 amp service is kind of really the minimum you need for overnight charging for almost all vehicles. Now, vehicles with really larger battery packs, like 100 kilowatt hour packs or whatever, could use a little higher rate. But even so, even if you only could fill, your battery from 20% to 60% overnight, if you got that big a battery in the first place, you're good. You can go about your business and just charge the next night. So, require larger businesses, this is point 8, require larger businesses with both federal and state mandates to have a certain percentage of level 2 EVSE dispensers in public parking lots. Whenever I go to Home Depot, whenever I go to grocery stores, Albertsons, Sprouts, you name it. Around here, at least in Las Cruces, there's no level 2 charging for me. The city has 2 or 3 in town, but it makes no sense to have a DC fast charger, a level 2, I keep saying DC fast charging, to have level 2 charging at a place where you're not going to be for very long. This is the problem. So public level 2 charging needs to be at locations where people are going to frequent. Like when you go eat, you're going to be in there 30, 40 minutes to eat. You could pick up a bit of charge in that time frame. So, there needs to be more of it. We don't necessarily. DC fast charging is really expensive to install, and it's very expensive electricity to buy. And level 2 is a lot cheaper to install, and the electricity is a lot cheaper. So it's we need more of both, obviously. Okay, number 9, continue EV subsidies, eliminate hybrid car subsidies, as well as subsidies for oil and gas. If oil and gas wasn't subsidized, the price of it would go way up. Now, you may not want to eliminate it 100% overnight, so you might want to stage it so that the price doesn't double. If people today are buying $3 a gallon gas, and then tomorrow they arrive at a gas station that's $6 a gallon, their hair is going to be on fire. Hopefully not at the station. So it needs to be done incrementally, and people need to be warned so they can plan for it over a period of some years, but not more than 5, let's say. And finally, the federal government should set up a ban on fossil fuel cars and trucks sales for the year 2035, just like places in Europe have done, so the automobile manufacturing sector can plan production more effectively. Right now, we're going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. Yes, we're going to do it. Oh, we're not going to do it. You can't plan. And so if you're going to ban them, like California has proposed to ban the sale of gas cars in the state, it needs to be nationwide. So even if all this was done, still there's nothing mentioned here where the government shows up at your door, knocks on your door, and says, "I want your car keys." You know, we're towing your car off. The closest thing we've ever come to any of this is cash for clunkers plans, and I think that's a good thing to do, as well as the $7,500 tax rebate on buying an electric car. If you trade in a gas car, there should be an incentive to do that. In other words, the government should tack on $2,000 or $3,000 extra dollars in your tax rebate, as well as the trade-in value of the car that you get. And of course, if the government has a ban, it's not going to have much of a trade-in value. So, and I would stipulate that the car cannot be resold. So it needs to be an older car, at least 10 years old or older. And once it's bought by the government for $3,000, then it should be just crushed. Recycle the metal. So I'm not sure how trading in a gas car that would be resold would work, because it doesn't help the situation any. But once a ban is in place, the value of a gas car as a trade-in is going to go way, way down. And if they're not allowed to be sold new after 2035, we'd need another date for gas cars that are used, can't be resold. And used would need to be defined. So there you have it. No one's coming to get anyone's keys. We're not going to pry them from anyone's cold, dead hands just yet. But just like their gas stoves either. But it's just this crazy stuff that comes up that every time you suggest to people, well, you should drive an EV, or you should buy an induction stove because it's better. Oh my God, I'll keep my gas stove or my gas car, and I'll get my sizable armory out, and I'll defend my right to own those vehicles till the government comes and kills me and takes them away from me. What kind of talk is that? No one suggested any such thing. It's a way a person would talk if they were 7 years old mentally. That's my take on it. And these people are dangerous because they are mentally haven't grown up. So anyway, I'm going to let it go there. I'm running 23 minutes now, and it's going to take a while to upload this video. So these two blogs were posted on our EVO site, which stands for Electric Vehicle Organization, SNM, Southern New Mexico, and it's on Facebook. So if you get a chance, it's easy to join. Come over and check us out on Facebook. Talk to you down the road, everybody. We just love our Hyundai Ioniq 5 EV. It's the best car we've ever owned. And Saturday morning, I'm going down to Brannigan Library because there's an electric car show down there. So I'm going to join them. First time I'm going to be showing off this vehicle. So I'll be down there from Brannigan Library in Las Cruces, New Mexico, from 10 a.m. till noon, with all the electric car owners around that are going to be showing off their cars too. So if you're local, definitely come on over. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.